Hello, everyone. Welcome again to another edition of Journey to Becoming Head Coach. As always, I am your host, Jeff Freeman. Thank you again for all the support and love and everything that y'all been giving me. I truly do appreciate it. Sorry, I'm moving my little screen over here. So today we're going to go over scheme and determining your scheme and what your scheme should look like and all that good stuff. Last week I talked about philosophy, and I'm going to kind of tell you how philosophy's kind of influenced me and to some degree how it's changed me a little bit. For those of you, a little feedback on me. I basically was brought up in a two-back eye system, very heavy on the tight end, whether it was 12 personnel or even 21 personnel, things like that. We ran a lot of fullback, tailback, tight end type style of stuff. We got a little bit in the spread my junior and senior year where we started winding out, getting some twins and trips and stuff like that. But we were very tight end orientated. Even in junior college, when I went down to San Diego, played there for 2 years. Same thing. We're very tight end orientated. I even tried tight end for the first year. And then our original center got sick. They figured out I could snap and pull at the same time. And then I went right back to being an offensive lineman and a center. So it is what it is. The big boys dream. You always dream to be a tight end and go catch a ball. In any case, hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. It's kind of one of those things, I really like the quote. It worked out really well because, it's very true as far as, I'll take hard work over talent any day. If I get a team full of players that just want to work hard, be in the weight room, be on the field every single day, I'll take that over a super talented team that's lazy and doesn't show up. So, and that kind of fits with the idea of, you can take a scheme and fit it, to players as long as you understand that you can't pound a square peg into a round hole. You got to understand that what your personnel is and how to adjust that to your scheme, and we're going to get into that right now. So again, thank you, everything. So here we go. How to design, picking a system, designing your scheme, how to decide what style of offense, what style of defense, personnel, staff. So I've been a part of a lot of them. I'll be honest, the only one I have not been a part of is a wing T style of offense. I have not been a part of a staff, nor have I really coached full on wing T, single wing, double wing. I have pistol. I have not coached any of it as far as looking into it as an actual system. I have not, I've coached pieces of it, as far as, some of the concepts, some of the buck sweep concepts, some of the trap concepts. I've taught some of it, some of the waggle. We sprinkled it in certain spots, especially my first year here. We had a coach here who kind of like a little bit of the flex bone, but then he also liked veer, but then he also liked the buck sweep or the double guard pull to get the buck sweep going. So I've taught certain principles of it, but never fully been into it. Again, I've been a big gap scheme time of guy where we're running, ISO, trap, counter, power, all those kinds of things out of tight end, two back, all that stuff. So that's kind of what I'm a privy to. That's what I'm used to. I coached against a lot of zone teams when I was over at CASA, and we were running spread. It was inside zone, outside zone, and veer. So saw a lot of that. So I do appreciate that style of offense, and actually that's kind of what our offense is going towards, just because it kind of fits our personnel. We are going to sprinkle in some of that gap scheme stuff because again, that's what I'm comfortable with. That's what I enjoy. That's what I like, and I think it gives a little kind of an offset to all the zone scheme, and it kind of can look the same as a zone, but you can create extra gaps and extra holes by implementing it. So again, being creative, high quality, and you can look at what's trending. Back in many years ago when the Dolphins came back with that single wing from Ricky Williams, they caught the Patriots off guard. That was just an old, way early, 40s and 50s single wing look that they came out with when they brought that the Wildcat, just a single wing front that was used decades ago, and they brought it back. So just kind of simple things like that you can pick and do. Can you implement it into your system? Is it things that you can use and you can pull from Father Time, from back in the day? Can you modernize something that's been gone for a while and bring it back? But again, overall, your philosophy is going to determine, it's going to influence you and what you want. Are you a smash mouth type of guy? Are you going to be run first? Are you going to be pass first? You like all the RPO stuff that's going on? I'm dabbling in it. I'm looking into it. I'm doing research on it. And not just typical RPO, bubble screen, that kind of thing. That kind of how it all started with that. But I'm really looking into the concepts of, can we run some slants? Can we run some cover two and some man beaters? While we're running the ball, We do the run pass options. We got the run option. We got the run option where we can either run the quarterback, or do we got the pass option where it's like, okay, this linebacker does this. Do we have the throw? Can we throw the slant? Can we throw the post? Can we throw the hitch or the snag or whatever it is we want to put concept behind it, depending on what kind of coverage we're trying to beat? Can we add that in? So, I mean, there's the run pass option and then there's screen pass options. I'll admit I've not got dabbled into much at all. Even as a player, screens were always kind of rough. The systems I was in, we didn't run a lot of screens. We did like a tight end screen and a running back screen. And that was pretty much it. And they were very rarely called, but we did call them on occasion. And sometimes they worked and sometimes they didn't. It was very interesting kind of how I've not been very big on screens as far as running back and tight end screens, but I am looking into them more and more because I feel like you do need those in your overall offensive package. There's just things to look at as far as designing and then matching your personnel. What can your personnel do? Do you have a quarterback? If you don't, can your system adjust to a quarterback that can't throw or can't necessarily read very well or doesn't read as well as they can yet? They're learning. First-year quarterback and a first-year quarterback and a six-year quarterback, guys been playing since Pee-wee, and they just pick up that system and go. So adjusting it to your personnel and then adjusting your staff to it. It was one thing I had heard, Nick Saban talk about it. Again, you guys will hear me quote Nick Saban and Bill Belichick. I feel like those two are easily the greatest coaches of all time when it comes to college and pro sports, for football anyway. But he said, he's like, people hire people for what they do. We hire people based on what we do. So it's like when they bring somebody in, it's their job to learn the terminology. It's their job to learn what they do, not the other way around. So like if they bring an offensive coordinator, like, no, this is how we call things, this is how we do things. You adjust your offense to us. We don't adjust to you because there's 100 people in their building that have already learned it, and that's how they know it. So they're not going to change everything. Makes total sense. So if there's a system you put in for years, why change it because you bring in a new guy? Something like, no, this is how we call formations. This is how we call plays. You adjust your play calling to what we do. We're not going to adjust to you. Now, granted, of course, it's high school. There might have to be some give or take on that. You might not be able to, be that kind of a big boss and like, hey, no, you're going to adjust us. Maybe you will. Maybe you can. I don't know. Again, I have not been privy to that. Maybe that's something you can do with your staff and say, hey, you're coming in, you're going to learn what we do, and you're going to adjust your system to us. Even though you're going to be our new offensive coordinator, you're going to adjust your system to what we do and how we call things. I mean, maybe you can do that. I don't know. I haven't been in that position yet. I'll let you know if and when I do and if it's plausible and if it worked and if it didn't work. And maybe some of you can type down in the comments, yeah, no, it works. I do it all the time. We strictly run Power I all the time. And I tell the new offensive coordinator comes in, hey, we run Power I. You call it terminology, but this is how we call it. Period. End of story. So maybe that's something that you can do. I don't know, to be quite honest. What's going to be your style? Is it going to be gap? Is it going to be zone? Zone read? Is it going to be run first, pass first, RPO, SPO, gadget plays? I mean, this kind of takes me back a few years ago when I was the JV head coach at BV a few years back. But, we ended up combining the freshmen and the sophomores for a full JV team for like the last 2 weeks of the season. And it was interesting when we brought that staff up because they were just talking about hook and ladder, hook and ladder, hook and ladder. We're like, okay, well, what did you guys use to beat cover two? Because we want to make sure that their squad knew what we were doing. And it was supposed to be a progression. And, so we figured they knew something. And we wanted to know what their freshmen knew so we could make sure we coached them up right. And that, we could all continue on the same progression towards what the varsity head coach wanted. They're like, well, we need to put in hook and ladder. Okay, what did you use for cover two? Well, we didn't really use a lot, but we need to use hook and ladder. The kids like it. The kids enjoy it. Okay, great. So are you big on gadget plays? I mean, you guys have seen some of my videos. I'm huge on gadget plays, especially when it comes to special teams. Offense, defense, you'll have, defense, I don't really know what kind of gadget plays you can have other than really disguising your blitzes and, things like that, disguising your coverages and bouncing and moving and stunting. But as far as gadget plays for offense, you got your fakes, you got your, your double passes, your flea flickers, all that stuff, your toss passes, all that. And then special teams, you got your fake punch, fake field goals. Me, I'm always big on putting those into special teams if I can gain an advantage. And plus, I just feel like, I don't know, based on my 2 years so far being a head coach and what I've seen, I feel like it's easier just to put in gadget plays on special teams than it is to put on offense because you want to focus on your offensive scheme and your game plan so much. I don't know. I guess you could put a trick play here or there and just save it and save it and save it and then use it in practice each week. Maybe that's something I'll look into. But to be brutally honest, I've always just kind of felt, in my opinion, how I like to put my gadget plays in is just always on special teams because we're just working specials. Like, boom, here's our fake built off of that. Here's our fake built off of this. So I don't have a lot of gadget plays in my offense yet. But we'll see as things go on. But again, what kind of style? Are you going to be gap? Or are you going to be gap down backer? You're going to be in, the old oil on inside linebacker, all those old rules, things like that, rule based kind of things. Or are you going to be zone where it's like, hey, you're taking a step and you're play side, you're counting 1, 2, 3, or anything like that. And then are you going to be run oriented? It's like, hey, you know what? First and second down, we are dedicating to the run. Or you bet, hey, you know what? We're open. We're going to pass. We're going to do what we want. We're going to be spread. We got a quarterback. Let's go. Hey, me as a former offensive lineman, I'm always run first. As things might change, and of course, I got to know what my tendencies are. Since we're going to more of a zone and a zone read type style of offense, I got to know in my head that, hey, I can't always call a run play on first down. I'm going to have to call a pass here and there. I'm going to have to change some things up. I can't always do that. And I'm looking to be calling the offense for the first time ever in my entire life. I've been calling defense for years. I haven't called offense yet, so this is going to be very interesting for me to call an offensive game and see how that thing's work and how I can build and progress things. But I know I'm going to have to keep a lookout for tendencies. What do I call on third down? What do I call on second down? What do I call on first down? What do I call on fourth down? And not being too crazy, as far as like going for it on fourth down all the time because I want to trust my offense. It's my offense. It needs to succeed kind of thing. But I was always pretty good as far as if we got to the 50 or farther, just telling the offense coordinator, look, you got 4 downs, get a first down, let's go. That was kind of always how I was a very big gambler, I was very pushing, just, hey, let's go. Now I might be looking at it as, that worked very little. It might be like, hey, you know what, if I got a punter, let's play the position game. Let's play that game a little bit. So, we'll see. In any case, style, what kind of style you're looking at. This is going to come up again when I go through a little bit more as far as the formations and things like that. But, just things like that. And things to consider, your players. What style of student athlete you have? We kind of talked about this in the beginning when picking your style. What kind of student athlete do you have? Can your system change with them? This is always a big thing. It's like, I heard back in the, watched the documentary, watched one of those things, Football Life, watched Tom Landry, talks about his 4-3 system. He's like, if it didn't work, it wasn't because of the system, it was because of the players. So in high school, though, I feel like it's kind of the opposite. If it's not working, it's because you're not tailoring your system to the player. And that's one of those things like, is your system flexible enough? If you run a 4-3, but you ain't got no defensive ends, can you shift it to where it's still got 4-3 principles, but maybe you got more 3-4 style of play where you got a linebacker playing defensive end more than you actually have an actual defensive end? Maybe it's more of a 3-4 look, but it's an over 3-4 look. So you got that 4-3 feel, but you got that 3-4 front look in the 3-4 personnel. So just can it be flexible and can you move things around like that? Same with your offense. You're running spread, cool, great. You don't got a quarterback that throws very well. Can you run? Can you do fly sweep? Can you, run option out of it? Like what can you do with your offense that's, creative enough? And again, that comes down to creativity. Do you look for new ways to implement old concepts, or are you looking at, hey, no, I'm stuck in the old ways. We run inside zone this way, we run power this way, and we run ISO this way. So, or are you looking into implementing in new and different ways, whether formations or motion or shifts? I'm looking big into shifts. Motion's been huge because, like I said, last year we were split back fly. So I'm looking big into, motions were great, but now can we shift plus motion? So that could be some fun things where it's like, okay, we're going to show you a tight end formation. We're going to shift to a spread formation, and then we're going to motion and run fly sweep. A lot of moving parts. Easy for us, hard for a defense because we're going to be in a tight end formation where maybe that's how they call their strength, the tight end. Well, now I'm going to motion into a balanced formation because we're going to try and do some pistol stuff. You go into a pistol double look in the middle of the field. Well, now there's no strength call. So are they going to try and make an adjustment, or are they going to sit there? And then I'm going to bring a motion and run a fly sweep. So now are they in man? Are they in zone? Play games like that. And then again, staff, do you hire to fit you or hire based on what they do? So again, some of those things, going back to that quote of we bring people in to do, what we do, not what they do. So, you can bring them in to add their spice. Maybe they're a really good offensive coordinator. Maybe they're really good, at the pass concepts and you need more pass or you need more run. And you bring them in, but you say, hey, look, these are terminologies. These are our formations. These are the plays we have in so far. You can make some adjustments, but you're not changing the terminology because we got 50, 60 players here and staff members that know it this way. You're going to have to learn it our way. So adjusting your scheme, adjusting the fit. So then that way, again, everybody has the understanding. And again, the fit, does your scheme fit your mission, vision, and philosophy? If you're someone who says, I believe in running the ball, and then you're out there in spread and you're throwing it all over the place, that doesn't really fit with your philosophy. It doesn't fit what you're telling everybody. The opposite can be true the same way. I believe in throwing the ball. We want to pass. We want to be a deep threat. And you're running double tight two back, and you're just going, 3 yards in a cloud of dust, which everyone kind of, makes jokes about. But I mean, when you look at it that way, if you get 3 yards on first and second down, you're looking at 3rd and 4. That's very manageable. Like, the whole playbook's open. That's kind of those one things I've been really preaching hard when I took over for the offense. I told the kids, look, we're trying to get 4 yards. That's our goal, 3 to 4 yards. Because then if you get 3 to 4 yards each time, you're looking at anywhere between, again, if you get 4 yards, you're looking at 3rd and 2. And if you're only getting 3 yards, you're looking at 3rd and 4. So, I mean, again, you're playing that game, but the whole playbook's open when you're there. We had a huge issue last year. Again, for those of you guys that watched the season review, we could not throw the ball. We couldn't get open. We couldn't get receivers open. We didn't have quarterbacks that knew how to read very well. And our offensive line was very young and immature. We just had, issues and whatnot. Our passing game was not very advanced because it couldn't get advanced because we just didn't have the ability to get it advanced that short a time. And our run game was solid for most of the year. Like I said, our running back only played 8 games, so got over 1,200 yards. So, I mean, right then and there is just kind of crazy when you think about it. Granted, he did have a 400-yard game, but still, at the same time, for him to get that amount in only 8 games is pretty good, which means our running game was pretty good for most of the season. It's just our passing game. People just started locking us in, putting 8, 9 in the box and saying, you ain't running. And when we couldn't run, we couldn't throw. It's just one of those things. We couldn't fit to that. But we could run the ball, which fit my philosophy. I wanted to run the ball. We ran the ball very well. But throwing the ball, people got us in 2nd, 3rd, and long. we were in trouble, especially 3rd and long. We were in trouble. So, just trying things to consider. Does it fit your mission, your vision, and your philosophy, and all that kind of stuff? And then, just scheme things to consider again. What kind of formations are you going to use? I mean, these are just some ones that I just threw up there, just thinking about off the top of my head. These are the ones that I've seen and I've used. I mean, 20 personnel, 21, 22, where you got double tights, and you got, and then you got one tight end at 10, 11, and 12 personnel. Spread, doubles, trips, empty quads. I didn't put Trey up there, even though, we'd see Trey. That's basically having a tight end attached. So you have a tight end, 2 receivers on one side. But I just feel like it's a spread formation, but it's a tight end formation at the same time. So I'm like, well, it's more tight end personnel than spread personnel. I guess you could go either way on that. But I just kind of figured true spread is like doubles, trips, empty, and quads. Even in quads, you don't see a lot of. You do see doubles, you see trips. I mean, from what I can tell, some teams I've watched that run spread, they run doubles. We're in the middle of the field, and anytime they're on a boundary, they always have trips to the wide side. Pretty much all I ever see is trips to the wide side, or they're still in doubles. So that's just kind of what I see. I don't see a lot of quads from a lot of teams, but I do view that as a spread or an empty formation. And then, of course, you got your I formations, your 2 back, your 3 back, your offset, king or queen. Obviously, king to the strength of the formation, queen being opposite. You might not call it that. That's just what I've always called it, is king and queen. And then full house, maybe you got 3 backs back there running that old diamond formation. Maybe you're doing some of that. I ran that, / my offensive coordinators ran that when we were at Bella Vista. We called it Joker. And it worked really well when we wanted to run the buck sweep because we had some fun where we could block backside, we could break counters, we did all kinds of things with it. Still staying in our head coach's philosophy, we just created a new formation, which again, in the long run, was a poor decision because we should have told them, hey, we don't have the personnel to run the formations you want. We want to add this formation in, but still run your playbook, which is basically what we did. We just didn't tell them. That was my fault as a JV head coach, not communicating to them that, hey, our personnel is struggling at this formation. We want to add this one. This formation is not in your playbook, but we want to add it just so that way that gives our personnel a little bit a better advantage against other teams. We should have done it. We didn't do it. Again, looking back, that was my fault. I should have, reached out to the head coach at the time that, hey, this is what we need to do, and this is why we need to do it. So, but again, those are things you learn, and those are things you learn as you move forward. If you're an assistant or if you're a freshman or JV head coach, if you're thinking about adding something, whether it's a formation, whether it's a play. If it ain't in the head coach's playbook, the offensive coordinator from the varsity or the varsity head coach's playbook, you just reach out and just make sure that, hey, we want to add this in. We feel like it'd be good for our personnel. Is it okay if we add it in? Just always check. Everyone's like, well, ask for forgiveness and permission. I feel like that's kind of getting overrun a little bit to where now it's like everyone's just trying to say, sorry, I shouldn't have done it. But, I'd rather ask for forgiveness than permission. That's starting to run rampant a little bit from what I see. And it's not just in football, it's in society. It's not just in coaching, it's in society in general. We're trying to ask for forgiveness rather than permission. I know that kind of used to be a way of doing things, but I feel like now it's starting to overrun a lot of aspects. But Anyway, as I digress, formations, okay, real big. What kind of formations you're going to run, and can your personnel run all these formations? If these are all the things you're going to put in there, these are total. These add different angles. These are going to force defenses to act differently, whether you spread out or bring them in. So understand, like, what again, your mission philosophy. You're trying to run the ball. You know, can you have the ability to spread them out and still run up inside, or do you need the extra blockers from the tight end personnel in the I formation? Like, what kind of personnel do you have? So same thing when it comes to schemes. Again, like I said, you got the gap, gap down backer, on inside linebacker, wing T, zone, which I gave zone and zone read are two different things because you can run zone without having to have a read on it. And I know some people are like, oh, well, zone read, zone read, zone read. They're kind of interchangeable, but they're not. If you run regular zone, you're not reading anything. You're just running zone, and you might be blocking back with a fullback, or you got the tackle on that backside end. And then zone read, you're letting somebody go, whether it's like a veer type style, which is to me more of a downhill kind of thing. But at the same time, you're reading the three tech, or you're reading a backside defensive end or an outside linebacker if they're in a 3-4 or a 50 front. And you got your RPO, SPO, and everyone's like, well, that's kind of a debate. Is it a scheme? To me, it is, because you're adding it in, and you can put an RPO or an SPO on any play. You can put a run pass option on any run play if you know how to do it correctly and it makes sense. So, and again, you can do it on any run play you want as long as you're able to, schematically piece it together correctly. Because, I mean, again, you can get crazy with these things. And, of course, spread, open formations, 2, 3, 4, 5 wide receivers, depending on what you're doing. Air raid, which is becoming more and more, I don't want to say it's becoming more popular. I will say I'm seeing more of it, as far as, like, I'm getting emails about it. I'm seeing clinics on it. So I don't know if it's becoming more popular again, or maybe I'm just getting all the emails now, or whatever it is, or all the subscriptions, learn how to put in an air raid offense and all this other stuff. So I don't know. I feel like it's coming back. It was something that was big, in the early, the late 80s, early 90s, all that stuff. And now I feel like it's coming back. And then, of course, you got your West Coast offense, which was brought in the 80s and 90s, with Bill Wallace, the short passing game. John Gruden's big. He runs it with the Las Vegas Raiders. I see little pieces of it in high school. There's some West Coast concepts that are thrown in there that people are running. So, again, what kind of schemes? Are you going to be more of a run-orientated kind of scheme, or are you going to be more of a pass-orientated kind of scheme? And like, how are you going to piece that in? And does that fit, again, with your mission, philosophy, and your vision? Does it fit? If it fits, roll with it. Does it fit with your scheme? Roll with it. And then the last big question I see pop up all the time is scheme versus fundamentals. Both are necessary. I'm sorry, because, I mean, there's always that joke like, well, you can't block, you can't tackle, you can't win. That is true. But if you can block and tackle, but you got no scheme, you can't win either. If you just say, all right, you guys just go block and tackle and we're going to win. Well, you didn't teach them how to line up. You didn't teach them who to block. Yeah, they can block, but who are they blocking and why are they blocking them? What are you trying to set up? And then, the same idea is like, okay, well, that's great. You can tackle, but I didn't tell you who to line up and who to cover. So it's a symbiotic relationship, scheme and fundamentals. Now, which one do you have to focus on more? I feel like it's kind of what kind of personnel and players and coaches do you have. If you have players that are really talented, you could probably focus more on scheme because they already have the talent of the blocking and the tackling, and they already have that talent in there. Now, blocking and tackling, I feel like you got to work on every day, no matter who you are. But if you got more talent, as far as being able to, maybe they're just really athletic, they're able to pull really easy, they're able to down block, they're able to get angles, they're able to get in position, they're able to run really nice, crisp routes, then you can focus more on scheme, and fundamentals can take a backside. If you're the opposite, and maybe, the student athletes aren't very athletic in general, then maybe you got to focus more on fundamentals. This is how you got to step, this is how you got to hit, this is how you got to tackle, this is how you got to wrap, this is how you drive. So I think it depends. Again, I feel like the percentage of which one you're going to teach is going to change year to year, and you got to be prepared for that. You can't always focus on scheme all week long and forget about fundamentals, because then you're going to show up and be like, man, we didn't tackle anything. Well, because you didn't put tackling as a forefront on your practice plan. Again, we try to tackle every day, whether it's we tackle in pads, out of pads. We try to tackle every day. Full speed, half speed. I mean, honestly, full speed's probably once per week. Everything else is like, hey, 3/4, 50%, half speed. We don't want anybody getting hurt. We want to keep everybody up. We don't want to, bust anybody's knees or ankles, because those are always the things that go. The ankles are like the highest injury we've had in the past few years. So again, just trying to fix that kind of stuff and focusing on how we prevent that. So I think both are necessary. I think you can't live one without the other, and you can't put more emphasis on one without the other. You kind of have to, again, you have to base it on your personnel and base it on your staff as far as like, okay, these are the kind of players we have. We can focus more on scheme. These are the kind of players we have. We got to focus more on fundamentals. These players, we got 7 first-year players. We had 7 first-year players last year. We had to focus heavy on fundamentals. And again, we did pretty well on that, but we didn't get to where we want to go in the progression. So again, you're going to have to wage that percentage. Is it going to be 50-50, 60-40, and in which direction? So again, when it comes to scheme, again, it boils down to your philosophy. You got to ask yourself some very, very simple questions. Does it fit with your philosophy? Does it fit with your mission? Does it fit with your vision of the program? And then after that, does all that fit with your staff? And does all that fit with your players? Because if one of those is out of whack, you're going to struggle with trying to make sure that everything kind of coincides and everything works together. Because if your mission and vision, again, is, hey, we're going to run, but you got this really dynamic quarterback and you got these really dynamic receivers, but you're running double tight 2-back, and you're just, again, 3 yards in a cloud of dust. You're doing a disservice. You are doing a disservice to your team and to your athletes, because you got the personnel to where you can widen it out and do some things. I'm not saying don't run the tight end 2-back, but what I'm saying is adjust your scheme to your players. And then same thing goes the opposite way. Don't be running empty in quads and your O-line always $130 and they can't block. And that could be due to teaching, that could be due to inexperience, it could be due to anything. But don't throw them out game 1 when, and you're running empty in quads and you're like, why can't we block fly sweep? Well, it's because your lineman can't block anything yet. You need some more help. You need to maybe get some sprint out, maybe run some flood, maybe run some boots, some bootleg, stuff like that. Again, making adjustments based on what your team can do. Same thing with your quarterback. You might have to do some sprint out stuff, just get him to work on half the field. You might not be able to have the vision to work both sides of the field. Or you build it into where, okay, reading left to right. Here's your pre-snap read on the left. Here's your post-snap read on the right. You're going to feed. You're going to ride and decide. You're going to pull it and run. Or you're going to just let it go and give it to the running back. You're going to run some kind of zone read stuff. Or if you're in a passing game, here's your pre-snap read based on linebackers and corners. On this side, this is going to be your post-snap read. So if you don't like the pre-snap, then you're going to focus on here. And you're going to run the post-snap read, and you're going to read the corner. If he does this, throw this. If he does this, throw that. And then if he doesn't do that, take off and run. Sometimes that's kind of, one of those little things, hey, 1-2 run or 1-2 get rid of the ball. One of those things depending on what kind of passing scheme or, what kind of drop back style you're doing. So, again, thank you so much. I just want to cover a little something on scheme and fundamentals and stuff like that. I think it's something that, kind of gets missed here and there, or one gets kind of focused on more than the other. And I think sometimes we over scheme things and don't simplify it enough. So thank you all very much. I hope you enjoyed it. Again, like, share, subscribe, all that, all that jargon that everybody says at the very end of their videos. Again, if you learn something, that's all I ask you to share with somebody. And if you want me to dive deeply into something else, please leave a comment below. As always, be great, push limits, hold the line, have a great day.